Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Thursday. Okay, finally, a day out of the red for local stocks today. You have the index climbing 1 3/10% to 6,968. That effectively snaps, of course, a 3 day slump. The index has been in the red since Monday. This, of course, as finally Metro Manila is under the alert level 4. That's today is going to be day one. This signals, of course, the shift to more targeted lockdowns and restrictions in the capital. Again, that's going to be a 5 level system, with level 4 being the second strictest, but still that's going to allow more businesses to operate once again at limited capacity in the hopes of at least cushioning the pandemic's blow to the economy. Let's see how that has so far affected movement here among individual stocks. And you see here a number of our mall operators also leading gains here for the index. You have SM Prime up by 2.9% to 33 pesos and 85 centavos. Same scenario as well for Ayala Land, making gains up to and close to 2.2% to 33 pesos and 30 centavos a piece. Jollibee also, of course, benefiting from that development, up 2.25%. But still, it's a telco giant Globe leading advancers for the day, up 5.3% to 3,200 a piece. This as it widens its 5G roaming service, especially in Australia. But not far behind, you have Aboitiz Equity Venture and its power unit, Aboitiz Power, both making hefty gains as well. This, as reports say, that the energy player has bagged a 10-year power supply deal with Pampanga's local government. So that's going to be a 40 megawatt supply of the Clean Energy brand in the province within the Pelco franchise, or the Pampanga Electric Cooperative. Again, looking at how both stocks performed today, Aboitiz Equity Venture now at 47 pesos and 10 centavos a piece, while Aboitiz Power is at 31 pesos and 60 centavos a share. Now, outside the main index, one big mover would have to be Emperador. So this is the world's biggest brandy manufacturer. So has already submitted application for a secondary listing in Singapore. So still, that's going to be subject to the Singapore Exchange's approval. But according to CEO Winston Cole, Singapore, being a major financial hub, will provide a broader audience and greater access to international investors for Emperador. It's also going to give them a platform to showcase Emperador as a global spirits company. Because of that news, again, looking at this chart right here, this 9-year chart of Emperador, you'd see at least the stock today jumping to its highest level yet in 8 years, or since 2013, as represented by that red circle right here. Again, you have Emperador for today jumping 6.25%, now at 18 pesos and 2 centavos a piece. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The BIR will investigate initial 250 influencers to see if they have been paying the right taxes. The Bureau confirmed that it has issued letters of authority for the probe into the top earning influencers on social media. Under the Internal Revenue Code, social media influencers must pay income tax, percentage tax, or value-added tax if applicable, as their earnings are considered business income. The BIR reminds influencers that fair market value or free products that they received for promotion must also be declared as income. Earnings treated as royalties from other countries are also included in the computation. The BIR warns that social media influencers who willfully attempt to evade payment of taxes may face charges under the tax code. Now, 92% of localities across the Philippines remain at high risk because of rising cases of COVID-19. That's according to the Health Department, which reports that the COVID situation in 111 out of 121 provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities in the country are now in high risk category. This comes on the heels of local governments in Metro Manila starting the implementation of granular lockdowns. Metro Manila Council Chairman Edwin Olivares says these localized lockdowns will be implemented by NCR mayors in specific areas based on the assessment of cities' health offices. On Radyo 5's Failon, Olivares clarified that there will be no jail time for those caught violating granular lockdown protocols, but authorities stationed in areas under lockdown will escort violators back to their homes. Meanwhile, areas in Metro Manila that are not under granular lockdowns are now placed under alert level 4. Outdoor tourist attractions in NCR, including some parts of Intramuros, are now open to visitors. Some businesses, like salons and restaurants, are also reopening at limited capacity. But Employers Confederation of the Philippines President Sergio Ortiz Luis tells One News says the chiefs that only 10% or 100,000 of their expected 1 million workers will be able to return to work today, still because of certain restrictions. The business group also told us earlier that the shift to alert levels is still not enough for the safe reopening of the economy, saying the government should also focus on improving health services and addressing healthcare workers' concerns. Still on day one of the alert level system in Metro Manila, how is this expected to boost chances of an economic recovery for the country? Let's pick the brains of UnionBank Chief Economist Carlo Asuncion. Good afternoon, Sir Carlo.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
All right, sir. So, of course, again, it's day one of the alert level system, alert level 4 to be exact. We now have at least a clearer idea as to how this will work or how this is going to work, especially when it comes to how businesses can restart operations. How do you think this shift is going to change things up for the country's recovery story?
Yeah, well, I think this is, I would say, this is a step in the right direction. In terms of the alert levels, it's something more familiar to people, and unlike the previous ones that we had, and I think that has somehow lost. I said in one of the interviews, charm. It has somehow lost its conviction in a sense. But this time is something more familiar, like for example, in a volcanic eruption, we have alert levels, and people just can readily understand it, and it's something very known to everyone. And I think that's one good step. At least I think even for markets.
Mm.
So far, we are seeing it on somehow. I'm not saying it's totally because of it, but somehow I think it has a some sort of effect to the mindset and to the perception of where things are going. So I think although it's not going to be just the change to alert level type of warning or restrictions, graduation. So, but there are other stuff that needs to be focused on, like as you mentioned in the report, like really just addressing concerns of the frontliners, making sure that testing and tracing efforts are heightened and well supported. And I think it is possible that this could be a good way forward.
Now, again, specifically on alert level 4, I mean, business operation will still be limited, but still
Yeah.
somehow there's a sense of reopening. I mean, that may range from 10 to 30%. But also picking up from what ECOP said, or the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, only 10% of the workforce will be able to return to work. So, how do all these things color your optimism for the shift to looser restrictions? I mean, how do you expect this to at least push some sense of rebound or growth for the economy?
Well,
It's not enough.
definitely. Yeah, well, definitely. This is something that's left wanting. It leaves something more needs to be done. And we know that, as mentioned by the employment organization, that it's just like barely 10% what the employees that they would want to be employed again or going back to work would
Mhm.
just be going back. So that's really a very small dent into the level of unemployment that we currently have. So it just tells you that there's something more that needs to be done.
Mhm. Now, of course, also this alert level system introduces some perks for the fully vaccinated. Do you think it's time to go full swing on a bakuna bubble, and how might that help the economy moving forward?
I share the sentiments of Ned, the secretary, about just trying something out there. If it works, then let's do it more. Then if it doesn't, then let's look for other ways. But I think at this point, when about say 17 million are fully vaccinated all over the country, that's about 6 million fully vaccinated in Metro Manila, barely almost 50% of the population, and still a lot more to go. So I think it's a good start. It's a good start. There's that's 50% almost. That's a lot. That's a lot of people that can go back to like for me, for example, just going back to the barber on a regular basis.
Mhm.
That's one example. And or people just going to the parks and going to museums. No, especially if they're vaccinated, no, and then they chose to be vaccinated. And I know just anecdotal stories. I know that it really works. No? Even though there are breakthrough
Mhm.
situations, no, it has not become very, they don't end up in the hospital, and just because they're vaccinated. So I think that it works, and we should encourage it. We should give incentive to it that way,
Mhm.
so that many more can be vaccinated.
Mhm. Now, I'm one with you, of course, on getting a haircut this weekend. But going back really to how things are at least changing when it comes to restrictions here in Metro Manila, how do you see the country's consumption story moving forward? Do you expect it to immediately pick up now that easing is happening, and just as we approach the holiday season?
Yeah, well, as I said, if it's if the government push for more vaccinations, and then if we see something that's going to give incentive to those people, who can spend,
Hmm.
and who can go out and make the economy run, and they're vaccinated, and why not? So I think it would spur consumption, at least here in the NCR, which accounts for a lot of much of not majority, but much of GDP. So I think that we should really push for that, and the government needs to lead the way again.
Now, Sir Carlos, speaking of consumption, one main driver would have to be remittances that grew at a slower pace in July. I mean, weakest, I think, since January. What caused that, and should we be worried?
We did expect a negative growth for July, but we were surprised
Mm,
that it did grew to about 2.7 to 2.5. Forgot, but
2.5
it
now.
was positive, no? But if you're going to look at the purchasing power of these remittances, it did actually decline for like a year on year 0.5%. It's a small number, but it still supports basic demand. No?
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of the inflation
Mm-hmm.
that has been elevated for the past months. No? So, and but we still see it as very supportive, and I think that the previous that even towards the end of this year, we are actually looking at a pre-pandemic type of growth for remittances around 2 to 3%. So yeah, that's very positive on that particular
Okay.
uh, economic indicator.
Now, speaking of growth, of course, this time on a more macro level, given all these developments, I know you have to revisit your model for the year, but this time around, at what level do you see us growing, and when do you see us at least going back to pre-pandemic growth?
We were after the second quarter. We actually had 4.9%. So we're not yet. When the third quarter print comes out, that's when we probably know what where to at least where it's going to land by the end of the year. No,
Mm.
so but at this point, we are within that a target of government of 45, and I think some are even going below that. No, but
Mhm.
we're within that, and we think that we've been pretty consistent with that 4 to 5%, even at the first half of this year. So yeah, we will have to wait for the third quarter. But in the meantime, we just to let you know, we haven't really factored in the Delta variant
Mhm.
impact yet. So definitely that would be going down at 4.9 definitely. So probably end up between 4 to 4.5 percent by the end of this year.
So you mean to say that at least the reopening of the economy, the slight reopening of the economy, is not enough to somehow cushion that possible downturn due to Delta?
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Mhm.
It's so difficult to really track this one. But one thing that we're doing is really just looking at well, this a leading indicator that's been very accurate for
Mhm.
the past well, yeah, 2 years, yeah, since the pandemic started. That has been really tracking growth for very accurately for quite some time. So we are going to look into that again. And
Okay, just like you, of course, we are still all on wait and see mode as to how growth is going to fare for the third quarter at least. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Union Bank Chief Economist Carlo Asuncion. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
And those are the biggest stories of this trading day, September 16, 2021. Catch Businessworld Live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.